Well, welcome back, folks, to that agnostic Bermudian. And leaving aside some unfortunate forays into anti Christian literature that I've decided to, I don't want to be that guy. Everybody has their bad days where certain things that are just so antagonistic to my worldview, they creep in. It just goes to show I wasn't eating right and sleeping right. And those videos still exist somewhere, but touch wood, they won't be making an appearance. I want to stay with, that other thing, that other topic that's now becoming okay to talk about. I don't want to be that guy. There's other people doing that. I want to focus on novels. I want to focus on what's positive, and I want to focus on the things that I love. I don't have to be the guy exposing the rabbit holes, because there's other videos doing it better than I can. All right. So let's talk about a book that I love. And this book, it's a big one. It's called A History of Western Philosophy and Theology by John M. Frame. Believe it or not, I actually used this textbook as my primary text teaching philosophy at the Bermuda College for years. I eventually got rid of it because I thought, oh, it's too religious. But I really wish I hadn't. I replaced it with a more generic philosophy text that is, it suffers from so many flaws that Frame's critique of secular philosophy that it's so hard to teach from that textbook, because I can just see the problems with it right away. John M. Frame teaches from a Van Tillian perspective. He wrote his own book, somewhat critical of Van Til, but Cornelius Van Til's presuppositionalism is his methodology, the epistemology he adopts to critique other philosophies. He himself is a fervent believer in sola scriptura, and can really, you could say that they have developed an intellectual system designed to dismiss the claims of other systems. But I don't know what it is about Frame. Maybe I'm just dumb, but when I read other systematic theologies, or when I read other books, or when I try to read like Orthodox theology, I get bogged down in terms and ideas that I just can't follow. And moreover, I get bored very quickly. But I find John Frame and Greg Bahnsen, and to a lesser extent, but still, Van Til, I find them exciting and easy to read. Their logic, it's straightforward. It just flows. I understand what I'm reading on the first try. Yes, I forget. That's so annoying. I don't remember things as much as I used to. But I'm going, is this just so childish that that's why I understand it? But I don't think so. I think they're just, I've been a lawyer. I haven't practiced in a long time, but maybe it appealed to my long dormant legal brain. And for this reason, I just think this is honestly one of the top 5 Christian books I've ever come across. It is not a book for, spiritual food, although you will get something out of it. You will get encouragement out of the fact that it's actually very easy to undercut the vain human attempts to create philosophies, because you see they are all built on castles of air. And you are able to come to the conclusion that a biblical approach is a sure foundation, is the sure foundation. That using the Bible as your epistemological floor, you have a platform upon which to build a wonderful castle. And yes, the criticisms can go, well, who's theology? And you could just you hear the Catholic or friend, it just leaves you to interpret it however you want. It's just chaos. Well, yeah, but they really push that line. I saw E. Michael Jones doing that. Say, they're all their own pope. I asked them, well, how do they get anything with sola scriptura? And they're just like, I don't know. I'm like, no, man. The biblical scholars recognize that the Bible is we're constantly reforming, but the Bible speaks to every generation, which is why we're always updating. But they don't throw aside all the basic theologies. The fundamentals are there. Yes, there are one or two major arguments, but there's not the idea that that Protestant theology is just this chaotic free-for-all is really bogus. I'll admit, I bought into it at one time, especially when I was, early in it and granted the so-called freedom to interpret Scripture for myself. But, that was an early idea. And over time, that has been honed to realize, well, no, it's not just that free-for-all. You're encouraged to read Scripture, but over time you realize that there are a limited number of viable options to be considered legitimately biblical. And there are outliers and there are kooks of all stripes. And I just find for me that the Reformed presuppositionalists, and particularly Greg Bahnsen and John Frame, offers the most coherent and easy to understand and rationally defensible and comforting, even though it's very legalistic and so on. It's just so clear. I find I have a real confidence in Scripture, even though I admit in myself I still struggle to read and enjoy it, because I think, honestly, now that I humiliate myself, the only time I enjoy reading Scripture is in the company of others. When we do a Bible study, I struggle. I've been really struggling to read Scripture on my own. And that's because I think God's saying, I want you to be in community with other Christians, and I want you to stop this stupidness of being a lone ranger who thinks that he finds flaws in every church and they're not masculine enough and there's too many women in power and all these other, very real criticisms. But I want you to be in a community of a believer, to bloom where you're planted and be able to do some work on my behalf for the kingdom, because that's what you're ordained to do. And I'll admit to you this. It was some comments under my previous videos where they said, I'm going to pray for you. And they asked, have you been reading Scripture? And I was answering in anger saying, I've been trying and all this. And, but God bless them. She did say you sound bitter and disillusioned, although I had said that myself, but she agreed. But her response, I hope it wasn't a bot, because it sounded very human. There was this one lady, I can't remember her name, and that truck guy, they both said they would pray for me. And yeah, well, here I am. So thank you. Read this book. Buy this book. It's worth it. If you have an interest in philosophy and struggle with how to answer some secular philosophies and wonder if there's some philosophy out there like an Aristotle or Plato that you're kind of afraid to read, because if you read it, you're afraid it's going to hurt your Christian faith and so on. Dude, you really got to pick this up, because you'll walk away from it realizing that so much of philosophy is a waste of time, and that the Bible is understandable, that there are ways of reading it that make it come alive. And I look forward to doing more reading of the Word in community with others so that I can experience that for myself. Because right now, it was like you guys did a little rescue operation for me in the last few days. Pulled me out of a really, reading some really bad stuff that my soul was sick. It is sick. My soul is still sick. Let's say it's part of sanctification. I am saved, but, we all have a bit of a sick soul. And you guys really... You came stepped up as medics, so I appreciate that. Oh. All right, I've been teaching for 3 hours, so I am exhausted, even though it's thunder and lightning outside. Ugh. I'm definitely gonna let the dog sleep on the bed tonight, because if the power goes out, I'm gonna be so scared. I may be safe, but I am afraid of the dark, which Richard Dawkins would just love to hear.